This pathetic loser was betrayed by his friends and left to die, but Hiora farmed so hard that eventually became the strongest hero with a harem of baddies besides him. The anime starts with a teenage boy named Hajime Nagumo waking up alone in a huge underground cave inside the Great Orcus Labyrinth. The place is dark, dangerous, and full of monsters. Basically, the Elden Ring cave you should not enter at level 1. Hajime quickly realizes he's in real trouble and starts looking for a way out. While exploring, he sees a cute-looking bunny monster, but the thing is fighting like it trained under Saitama. It wipes out 2 monsters in seconds. Before Hajime even finishes processing that, an even bigger predator shows up, kills the bunny instantly, and then goes after him. Hajime tries to escape but gets attacked and loses his arm. Somehow he survives by using his special skill, Transmute, which lets him reshape materials like a fantasy world Minecraft player. He stumbles onto a sacred stone filled with holy water, drinks it, and heals his injuries. Kind of like finding a free full HP restore right when you're about to give up. As he goes deeper into the cave, Hajime has flashbacks about how he ended up here. Originally, he and his whole class entered the labyrinth together. Since he had the weakest combat abilities, he always struggled, and a classmate named Aikawa had to save him during their fights. Later, the class found a strange crystal that suddenly teleported everyone into a deadly trap full of monsters. They tried defending themselves with a divine protection spell, but it didn't last long. In the chaos, the group tried to escape across a narrow bridge. Hajime used his transmute skill to help hold off monsters while the others crossed. But then one of his classmates hit him with an attack from behind, whether on purpose or not, and he fell off the collapsing bridge straight into the depths. Now alone, injured, and desperate, Hajime decides to survive however he can. He ends up eating monster meat, which is basically the real-life version of taking a sketchy Skyrim potion. It tastes disgusting, but it keeps him alive. He traps 2 wolf-type monsters and eats them too. Their blood gives him weird sensations, but he survives and levels up. When he checks his status, he realizes he's gained new skills like lightning abilities and wolf-like senses. Using his upgraded powers, Hajime creates a revolver-style gun he names Donner. Along with special bullets he crafts himself. With Donner, he goes back into full DIY anime action hero mode and beats the same bunny monster he saw earlier. After that, he even defeats the giant predator that took his arm the first time. With each win, Hajime becomes more confident and determined. Instead of running from monsters, he starts clearing everything in his path, leveling up and slowly changing from the weakest guy in class into someone entirely different. Meanwhile, Hajime's classmates are above ground trying to explain everything to the king. They tell him how their class accidentally stepped on a trap on the 20th floor of the Great Orcus Labyrinth and got teleported all the way down to the 65th floor, basically skipping levels like someone entered the wrong cheat code. Down there, they ran into a huge behemoth and barely survived. The king reminds them that they were summoned to this world because of an agreement. They were brought here as heroes to help save humanity. While they're talking, Hajime's classmate Shizuku has her own flashbacks. One of the king's advisors, Ishtar, explains why the students were summoned in the first place. Apparently, demons have taken control of monsters across the world, and humanity is losing the war. The people of this world prayed for help, and the students got isekai'd in response. Sort of like an Avengers-style emergency draft, except everyone arrived in school uniforms. Shizuku remembers how her best friend Kaori promised to fight alongside her. She also starts thinking about Hayama, another classmate, who always seemed jealous of Hajime. His weird hostility toward Hajime starts looking more suspicious, but Shizuku decides there's no proof yet and lets it go. Meanwhile, Kaori wakes up from being unconscious and realizes she has no idea where Hajime is, which worries her even more. Back underground, Hajime continues exploring and finds a sealed door guarded by one-eyed monsters. Using Donner, his custom-made revolver, he blasts them down like he's in a Monster Hunter speedrun. Inside their bodies, he finds strange mana stones that act like keys. Using them, he unlocks the room behind the door. Inside the chamber, he discovers a girl encased in stone, basically sleeping like Princess Zelda in a crystal prison. When she wakes up, she tells him that she's from a powerful vampire bloodline. Her healing and immortality made her uncle and some ministers afraid of her, so they sealed her away. It's very family drama, but fantasy edition. Hajime uses his transmute ability to break the stone and free her. She's grateful, a little shy, and instantly attached to him in a very anime way. He decides to give her a name, Yue, since she's been trapped for so long that her old identity barely matters anymore. As Hajime and Yue continue exploring the labyrinth, they suddenly run into a giant scorpion monster. The creature wastes no time and immediately attacks Hajime, injuring him pretty badly. Even while hurt, Hajime tries to fight back with everything he has. He fires Donner again and again, but the monster just tank hits like a Dark Souls boss with max armor. Seeing this, Yue steps in and uses her Azure Blaze, unleashing a huge burst of magic that distracts the monster long enough for Hajime to land the perfect shot. With one precise hit straight to the head, he finally brings the creature down. After the fight, Yue explains a bit more about herself. She doesn't age the way normal people do. Instead of growing older, she constantly regenerates, like Wolverine if he was a royal vampire princess. Yue also tells Hajime that every labyrinth in this world was created by powerful beings called mavericks. Each maverick hides at the center of their own labyrinth, and finding them might be the key to reaching the surface. With that goal in mind, Hajime gets to work and crafts another gun, a rifle he names Schlag, because why not build an entire custom anime arsenal? As they travel, Hajime opens up to Yue about how their class was summoned by a god to fight demons, kind of like being drafted into an isekai version of the Justice League. He admits he always felt useless compared to his classmates, and after being betrayed and left for dead, he doesn't care about them anymore. His only goal now is survival and going home. He decides to bring Yue with him, partly because she's strong, but mostly because she's the only one who didn't treat him like an extra. During their journey, they run into a herd of dinosaur-looking monsters with flowers growing on their heads. Imagine Jurassic Park, but designed by a botanist. Luckily, Hajime and Yue manage to sneak past without starting a boss battle. Later, they reach a cave full of glowing green crystals. Things look peaceful until a flower suddenly sprouts on Yue's head, and she immediately starts firing rapid-fire magic attacks at Hajime. Turns out a creature with mind control powers is hiding in the cave. Once Hajime figures out what's happening, he deals with it quickly using his shots, freeing Yue from its influence. After things calm down, Yue casually reveals that she doesn't eat normal food. She drinks blood to survive. Hajime just accepts it with the same energy someone gives when their friend says they prefer pineapple on pizza.
No.
With that out of the way, they continue deeper into the labyrinth. Eventually, the two of them manage to reach the 100th floor, the absolute bottom of the Great Orcus Labyrinth, basically the final dungeon level unlocked moment. Hajime and Yue finally reach the last chamber of the labyrinth, where the final boss shows up, a giant six-faced dragon monster that looks like something straight out of Elden Ring's DLC. The dragons start firing attacks immediately, but Hajime and Yue dodge and counter like a well-practiced co-op team. Hajime unloads multiple shots from Donner, while Yue uses glacial sleet, covering the place in ice and leaving huge wounds on the dragons. But the dragons aren't playing fair. One of them is basically a dedicated healer and keeps restoring the other's HP like it's running a full support build. Realizing this, Hajime and Yue decide to target the healer first. They go all in, but the defense-type dragon jumps in like a Pokemon using Protect and absorbs everything. Between the attacker, defender, and healer dragons, it's like they're fighting a perfectly balanced MMO raid party. Things get worse when one of the dragons uses illusion magic on Yue, trying to take over her mind. She almost loses control, but Hajime snaps her out of it, literally, by grabbing her and waking her up with a kiss. He reassures her that they're getting out of this place together, not separately. Fired up, Hajime grabs his rifle Schlag and fires a powerful shot that blows off 3 of the dragon's faces at once. Yue follows with Heavenly Blaze, and together they manage to take down all the dragons. Or so they think. Another dragon suddenly appears, now, because of course the boss has a phase 2, like every From Software fight ever. It charges straight at Yue. Hajime jumps in front of her, blocks the hit with his crafted weapon, but gets seriously injured and collapses. The dragon keeps attacking, but Yue refuses to leave him. She lifts him onto her back and dodges the attacks while crying and shooting back with his revolver. She even pours holy water on him to wake him up, but nothing works. She thinks she's about to lose him again. Seeing Yue crying over him, Hajime suddenly wakes up with full anime protagonist energy. He blocks a fatal attack and stands back up. Deciding to end it once and for all, he sets a trap by firing shots into the ground to create holes and stuffing grenades inside. When the dragon steps over them, the explosions send rocks crashing onto it, temporarily pinning it down. Hajime and Yue combine their strongest abilities, his transmute and her azure blaze, and unleash a massive finishing strike that finally defeats the dragon for good. The final boss goes down and the 100-floor hell run is officially cleared. Meanwhile, far away, Hajime's classmates are still fighting their own battles. Kaori, who still believes Hajime is dead, continues to fight with sadness and hope mixed together, holding on to the belief that somehow, somewhere, he might still be alive. The next morning, Hajime wakes up completely naked in a small house with Yue sitting nearby, acting like this is totally normal. Confused, he asks her what happened the night before. Yue calmly explains that she dragged him out of the battlefield, poured holy water on him, and healed him back to life. Basically, she did the full RPG healer routine while he was unconscious. They find some clothes in a closet, thankfully, and start checking out the rest of the house. While exploring, they enter a room with a strange pattern drawn on the floor. There's also a skeleton sitting in a chair like it died while waiting for customer support to pick up the call. When Hajime steps on the sign, a hologram-like soul appears from the skeleton. The spirit introduces himself as Oscar Orcus, the creator of the labyrinth. He congratulates Hajime for reaching the end and surviving all the ridiculously unfair boss fights. Oscar explains that his message is pre-recorded like a magical voicemail, so Hajime can't ask questions and get real-time answers. Meanwhile, far above them, Kari, Shizuku, and the rest of the class are fighting the behemoth again on the 65th floor. It's basically their rematch episode, using all their powers, the flashy, colorful kind that look like Fortnite mythic weapons. They finally manage to defeat the monster with a final limit break attack. Back in the hidden house, Oscar grants Hajime his power, warning him not to use it for evil. Hajime absorbs it and immediately feels something change, like unlocking an OP DLC character skin. He also learns the truth about the gods and mavericks. They weren't villains, but actually liberators who fought to break the world's corrupt system. Using the Orcus ring Oscar leaves behind, Hajime and Yue open more rooms and discover new techniques, magic, and crafting methods. They even end up using the skeleton's remains as fertilizer for a garden. A little dark, but practical, Hajime continues eating monster meat like it's his personal protein shake, powering up with every bite. During all this, he and Yue grow closer. They spend 2 whole months living together, training, practicing new skills, and crafting weapons that would make even Tony Stark raise an eyebrow. They basically turn the hidden house into their own anime power-up base. Hajime makes guns, grenades, enchanted rounds, the whole Call of Duty loadout, using his transmutation powers. Yue trains her abilities alongside him, and the two become a seriously unstoppable duo. By the time their training ends, they're both completely different from when they started. Stronger, smarter, and much more confident. They've also fallen in love, which they don't bother hiding anymore. With everything ready, they decide it's time to leave the labyrinth and take on the real world, including the corrupt ministers and kingdoms responsible for so much trouble. They promise to protect each other no matter what comes next, and step forward together, ready for whatever the world throws at them next. Nagumo and Yue manage to teleport to another part of the world, and the first thing they see is a rabbit girl waiting for them, like she's been tracking a pizza delivery order. She runs up to them and begs for help, explaining that if she lets them walk away, her whole race is basically doomed. Turns out she has a rare ability called Future Sight, so she already knew they'd show up and felt confident enough to wait at the spawn point like an NPC with a side quest. Nagumo, being tired and very main character who did not sign up for this, suggests they just keep moving. But Yue gives him that look, the same look Hermione gives Harry when he's about to do something dumb, and insists they help, so they take the rabbit girl along as their guide. They head out on a bike Nagumo summons, which honestly makes the whole scene feel like Fortnite loot luck, and begin their journey to rescue her family. Along the way, they run into dragons. Not one, not two, just casual, oh look, another dragon moments. Nagumo slices through them like they're side mobs in a leveling zone, impressing the rabbit girl, Yue, and literally anyone watching. During the ride, the rabbit girl explains her people's situation. The beastmen can't defend themselves properly because monsters are way too strong in this region. Only she has Future Sight, which is why she's the only one who could run ahead to find help. Once they reach the beastmen village, Nagumo decides to help them get stronger. Think of it like he becomes a one-man CrossFit trainer, but with way cooler weapons. The villagers are amazed at his abilities, especially the way he can craft tools and weapons out of almost anything. Even Yue looks proud, and she's usually impossible to impress unless Nagumo is literally risking his life. Eventually, while exploring the area, they come across a huge, ancient tree. This thing has been standing for centuries without rotting. The villagers explain the tree's importance, and Nagumo notices a symbol on the trunk that looks exactly like Oscar's mark. He realizes this tree might be another entrance to a labyrinth. Using the Orcus ring, he tries one of the holes in the trunk, and sure enough, the ring reacts. He figures out that if he clears the other 4 labyrinths, this tree will open a door that leads to ancient regeneration magic. Basically, a legendary perk locked behind DLC. Nagumo explains the situation to the beastmen and tells them to keep training while he continues his journey. The rabbit girl insists on joining him, and Yue agrees, so Nagumo just rolls with it. Nagumo, Yue, and Shay continue their journey, determined to clear the remaining labyrinths and unlock the ancient magic they've been chasing. Their next stop is the labyrinth in Risen Gorge. The moment they step inside, the door greets them in a creepy but weirdly friendly way, like a haunted house ride at Disneyland that's trying too hard. As they move deeper, Nagumo accidentally triggers a trap straight out of an Indiana Jones movie. Giant rolling rocks, flying blades, the whole package. Luckily, the team dodges everything like seasoned platform game characters, and Shay uses her trusty hammer to smash whatever gets too close. Eventually, they reach the area where they left off during their last attempt. This time, they push forward confidently and enter a massive hall filled with armored statues. These armors look intimidating, but they go down faster than low-level enemies in Skyrim. After clearing the room, the trio jumps onto a floating rock, which carries them to the boss of the labyrinth, Milady Risen. Milady looks small and cheerful, but she has the chaotic energy of someone who would absolutely spoil a TV show finale just for fun.
Are you the ones who made it through Oski's labyrinth?
Nagumo explains that they are searching for ancient magic because he wants to go home. Milady listens, then just casually refuses to tell them anything. Like a teacher who knows the answer but wants you to try harder. Nagumo gets annoyed and fires a missile at her. Yes, a literal missile. That kicks off the boss fight. Milady uses her ability to manipulate rocks and gravity, throwing boulders around like she's playing with Legos. The team counters by hopping between floating stones, basically recreating those floor is lava childhood games, but at maximum difficulty. Yue fires her force rupture ability, Nagumo traps Milady with ropes, and finally Shay rushes in and smashes Milady's crystal core with her hammer. One clean, satisfying hit, very Thor energy. With the boss defeated, Nagumo and Yue praise Shay for the finishing blow. Milady gives a dramatic farewell speech, wishing Nagumo luck on his journey. But once they move on, the group finally learns who Milady actually was, a mischievous spirit who clearly thought she was funnier than she actually was. She gives Nagumo another good luck speech, and Shay punches him because he actually liked it. Milady explains that her magic is gravitation-based and tells them to use it wisely. She gifts them rare materials and a special ring before sending them out through a long underground river tunnel that feels like the bootleg version of a Universal Studios water ride. Once they reach the surface again, they head straight to a hotel to rest. Of course, as soon as they get into the room, Yue and Shay start arguing about who gets to sleep next to Nagumo, like two fans fighting over which one is the real #1 supporter of a K-pop idol. Nagumo just stands there, exhausted, wondering how fighting a gravity-controlling labyrinth boss was somehow easier than dealing with these two. Hajime and his group get a request from the Adventurers Guild to look for some missing adventurers, including the son of a noble. So they head to a nearby farming village to start the search. What they don't know is that Aiko and a bunch of their old classmates are also visiting the farms at the same time. One classmate, Shimizu, has gone missing, so everyone is already a bit stressed. Hajime does his best to avoid bumping into them, basically trying to pull off the turn around and pretend you didn't see anyone move, but Shay ends up calling his name loudly, so that plan falls apart instantly. Aiko sees him and immediately starts crying while asking where he's been all this time. Hajime doesn't really give her any answers and tries to walk away, keeping things cold because he no longer wants to deal with any drama from the past. Then, an arrogant Templar knight shows up and starts acting rude, especially towards Shay. Hajime doesn't tolerate it. He quickly beats the knight up so badly that everyone around him goes quiet. His classmates are shocked because the old Hajime they knew was gentle, and now he looks like someone you definitely wouldn't argue with unless you enjoy hospital food. Aiko, though scared, insists that she won't give up on him and believes she can somehow bring back who he used to be. Later on, Hajime meets Aiko privately so she can stop worrying and so he can explain what's really happening in the world. He tells her the truth about the war with the demons. Long ago, some humans learned that the god Ahit wasn't actually supporting humanity. He was basically playing both sides of the war for entertainment, like a very bored gamer who refuses to log off. Those humans became the liberators, trying to free everyone from Ahit's control. But the church twisted the story, calling them heretics and renaming them mavericks. The liberators eventually built the labyrinths to hide the ancient magics until someone strong enough to defeat Ahit came along. Hajime also tells Aiko straight up that one of their classmates had tried to kill him, leaving her shocked and confused because everything keeps getting worse the more she finds out. The next morning, Aiko and the students insist on helping with the search in the mountains. Aiko especially wants to come along because she still has more questions about the liberators. Once they reach the mountains, Hajime starts using the drones he built with transmutation, connecting them to his jewel eye so he can scan the area like a high-tech search party. Thanks to the drones doing most of the hard work, because who wants to walk around the mountains all day? They eventually find Will, the noble's son. He's the only one still alive. Will explains that they were attacked by a huge number of monsters, and on top of that, a black dragon. Basically, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. On the way back, things get even worse because the black dragon shows up again and attacks them. Hajime knocks it out of the sky with his usual calm but scary attitude, and then tries to pierce its armor using the pile bunker, a weapon that fires xanthium stakes and can punch through almost anything. The dragon almost manages to fly away, but Shay steps in and knocks it out with Drucken, proving once again that she is terrifying in her own adorable way. Since the dragon's armor is too tough, Hajime decides to aim for the only spot that isn't protected. And unfortunately for the dragon, that spot is, well, the anus. He shoves the xanthium stake there, and the dragon screams in pain so loudly it could probably be heard all the way back at the village. But the pain also causes the dragon to reveal a secret. She can take human form, and she's actually a female dragonborn. She starts begging Hajime to remove the stake, saying she'll tell him anything he wants to know if he just stops the pain. To be fair, anyone would spill every secret they have in that situation. She explains that someone magically forced her to attack Will and the others, and as a way to make things right, she offers to help the group go after that person. Hajime doesn't trust her and decides he might as well kill her anyway, but Yue manages to convince him to let her live. Hajime finally removes the stake, and the dragon transforms into a young woman named Tio. She admits she's a bit of a shameless masochist, and even says she enjoyed the steak, just a tiny bit, which immediately makes everyone regret knowing that information. Now that she's officially on their side, Tio explains what she knows. The person controlling her has an army of about 60,000 monsters and is planning to attack the farming village. It's the kind of news that instantly ruins your day, but at least now they know what they're up against, even if the explanation came from a dragon who had a very traumatic afternoon. Hajime eventually agrees to help fight when Aiko asks him directly. He doesn't show it, but he clearly respects her enough to listen. He starts preparing the village by creating barricades all around it with transmutation. While he works, he also has to deal with Tio, who keeps trying to flirt with him in the strangest ways possible. She loves the fact that he ignores her and occasionally insults her, which just makes her even more annoying. Hajime spends half the time fighting monsters and the other half fighting the urge to tell Tio to go stand in a corner and rethink her life choices. Before the battle starts, Hajime loudly says he will dedicate their victory to Aiko, goddess of plenty, which instantly leaves Aiko blushing and wishing she could disappear into the ground. She was expecting something serious, not to suddenly get a title that sounds like it belongs on a festival banner. After that moment of embarrassment, Hajime gets to work. He unleashes complete destruction on the monster army using a bunch of transmuted miniguns and rocket launchers. It's basically a one-man fireworks show, except the fireworks are exploding monsters. Eventually, he runs out of ammunition, and both Yue and Tio run out of magic, so the non-stop barrage finally slows down. With the monsters starting to retreat, Hajime and Shay charge forward to catch the mysterious robed commander, who seems to be controlling everything. When they grab him, Hajime realizes the commander is actually Shimizu, the missing classmate. Shimizu admits he felt overshadowed by the other summoned heroes and got jealous. Since he wasn't the strongest or the most special, he ended up making a deal with the demon. The contract gave him more power, but in exchange, he had to kill Aiko. Not exactly the kind of extra credit assignment anyone wants to hear about. Shimizu manages to scratch Aiko with a poisoned needle, which instantly puts everyone on edge. Before he can do anything else, Shimizu gets shot from behind by a monster sniper. Hajime quickly shoots the sniper in return and then rushes to Aiko. He heals her using ambrosia, which he gives her through a kiss, probably the most intense medical procedure she's ever experienced. Aiko survives, but Shimizu doesn't have much time left. As he lies dying, he suddenly offers his loyalty to Hajime, acting like he wants forgiveness. However, Hajime sees through the lie in his eyes without hesitation. He ends Shimizu's life right there, doing it mercilessly. This completely breaks Aiko emotionally because no matter how bad Shimizu became, he was still one of her students. As they leave the battlefield, Yue figures out another detail. The sniper wasn't aiming at Shimizu, he was aiming at Aiko. Hajime realized that, which is why he chose to finish Shimizu off himself. By letting Aiko think it was his decision alone, he protected her from blaming herself or feeling guilty. Yue points out that this will help Aiko recover mentally much faster, even though it was a harsh choice. It's one of those moments where Hajime acts colder than everyone else, but for a strangely considerate reason. A group of slavers manages to capture a rare mermaid child named Mew and they immediately decide she'll make them a lot of money. Meanwhile, Hajime brings Will back to his father, collects his reward, and decides the team deserves a little break. They wander around the city like tourists who have no idea where they're going but are pretending they do. During their sightseeing, they visit an aquarium and end up meeting a talking fish who is actually intelligent. Since chatting with a fish isn't something you do every day, they decide to secretly free him. As thanks, the fish tells them a rumor about a kidnapped mermaid child being held somewhere in the city. Hajime acts like he doesn't care, but the situation clearly gets under his skin. So he and Shay wander through the city until Hajime senses the child somewhere underground. They follow the trail into the sewers, which is about as pleasant as it sounds, and rescue Mayu. Hajime and Shay take Miu back and try to keep her safe, but they're not sure what the responsible thing to do is. While they're figuring it out, Yue and Tio are off to the side having their own conversation about how they're totally fine sharing Hajime between them. It's the kind of talk that would send most people running for the hills, but Hajime is already used to chaos by now. Eventually, Hajime decides the safest thing is to hand Miyu over to the city guards, even though she clings to him and begs to stay. It's a painful moment, and Hajime tries to play it cool, but it definitely bothers him more than he shows. Unfortunately, the moment he leaves her at the guardhouse, the place gets attacked and Miyu is kidnapped again. This time, Hajime completely loses his patience. He storms through the city, hunting down every slaver he can find. One by one, he takes out all known members of the gang while searching for information about the upcoming auction, where Miyu is supposed to be sold. Eventually, he tracks down the auction, which is being held inside a noble's mansion. Hajime goes inside, executes the slaver boss without hesitation, saves Miyu, and then blows up the mansion along with all the customers inside it. It's not exactly subtle, but it definitely solves the problem. After all this, Miyu becomes deeply attached to Hajime and starts calling him Papa, which instantly makes him uncomfortable because he has no idea how to handle parenting, especially not surprise parenting. Her calling him that sets off a chain reaction. Yue, Shay, and Tio all decide that if he's Papa now, then he should go ahead and give each of them children too. Even though Hajime feels awkward about suddenly becoming a parent, he actually does a pretty good job taking care of Miyu. She follows him around happily, and he ends up acting a lot more responsible than he ever expected. After things settle down, the group returns to the city where Hajime and the other heroes were originally summoned. While visiting the Adventurers Guild, Hajime runs into Endo, one of his former classmates. Endo looks terrified and immediately warns him that Katlia, the demon they've encountered before, has set a trap inside the labyrinth for the rest of their class. Inside the labyrinth, things are going terribly for the class. Katlia has summoned a whole army of monsters, and the students can't even get close to her, let alone defeat her. Hajime hears this but doesn't feel particularly motivated to help, especially since he's still holding on to a lot of resentment. Then Endo accidentally upsets Miyu, which makes Hajime even less interested in getting involved. During the chaos inside the labyrinth, Suzu gets injured, and this causes most of the class to panic and run. A couple of students, Hayama and Nakamura, even suggest making a deal with the demon just to survive, which shows they're clearly not thinking long-term. Meanwhile, Kuki, the main hero and the person who always tries to act noble, pushes forward and gets close to Katleya. But right when he's about to attack, she drops a locket with a picture of her lover inside. Kuki hesitates, realizing she has a personal life and isn't just some evil monster. That moment of hesitation costs him, and he ends up getting seriously injured. Back outside, the girls in Hajime's group talk to him, trying to convince him to help. Hajime eventually agrees, reasoning that only one of his classmates ever tried to kill him. The rest may be annoying, dramatic, and occasionally useless, but they're not actually guilty of anything. With that in mind, he decides to step in. Inside the labyrinth, things get even worse. Shizuku's original sword breaks during the fight, leaving her and Kari preparing to die together because they see no way out. It's a dramatic moment, but before anything can happen, Hajime suddenly blasts through the upper floors using his pile bunker, creating a shortcut straight to them. His entrance is loud, destructive, and exactly the kind of thing Hajime would do. Practical, but also terrifying. He arrives just in time to save them both. The entire class is shocked, not just because he saved them, but because they realize Hajime is still alive and far stronger than they ever imagined. The last time they saw him, he was the quiet, friendly kid. Now he's the guy who shows up by punching holes through ancient stone structures and treating monster armies like minor inconveniences. Hajime quickly figures out the tricks behind Katlia's magic and wipes out all the monsters she summoned. It takes him almost no effort, which leaves the rest of his classmates completely stunned. Hayama, the one who once tried to murder Hajime, is especially terrified. He keeps glancing around like someone who expects karma to punch him in the face any second. He knows that if Hajime finds out the truth, things will not end well for him. Meanwhile, Hajime notices that Shizuku's sword is broken, so he casually transmutes her a brand new one that's basically indestructible. He hands it to her like it's no big deal, even though the weapon is probably worth more than most kingdoms. Everyone is impressed. Katlia, realizing she's completely outmatched, tries to escape, but Hajime easily catches her. He then interrogates her for information, using methods that horrify his classmates, who are clearly not used to Hajime's new, much darker personality. She eventually reveals that a powerful demon has already conquered one of the labyrinths and is using its ancient magic to build a massive monster army. She also warns Hajime that her lover will hunt him down for revenge. Hajime listens, shrugs, and kills her anyway, which leaves the student speechless all over again. After the fight, Kuki becomes furious. He can't believe Hajime killed Cattleya when she couldn't fight back. Hajime snaps right back at him, telling Kuki he's too weak because he hesitates at the worst possible moments. He even warns Kuki and the rest of the class that if any of them try to interfere with what he's doing, he won't hesitate to kill them too. It's a very blunt warning, and nobody doubts he means it. Later, Kaori finally confesses that she loves Hajime, but he gently turns her down because his heart already belongs to Yue. Kaori refuses to give up and insists on joining his party anyway so she can compete with Yue directly. Shizuku tries to give back the sword Hajime made for her, thinking it might be too valuable, but he tells her to keep it. As they prepare to leave, everyone piles into Hajime's ridiculously overpowered, self-made SUV. Kaori gets angry when she realizes she has to sit in the back with Shay and Tio, while Yue automatically claims the front passenger seat next to Hajime like it's her birthright. Despite all the chaos, all the drama, and all the people competing for his attention, Hajime stays focused on one goal: getting back to Japan. He doesn't care how many enemies he has to defeat along the way. He's determined to return home, even if he has to take down God himself to do it. This was it for today's recap. Subscribe to see the next part and click here to see story of a loser who got a bully to fall in love with him.